Are you aware that you can bet on the World Cup?
Well, I am now.
So
Seafood
esports betting
10 to
isn't
1.
entirely new, but I think we have a chart here that we can pull up for you guys that kind of shows the current odds on what the odds are and who is the favorite and all this sort of good stuff. It's scary. Anyway, at least for right now, we'll just start talking about it. So Tifu is the 10-1 favorite. Riversen is number 2. Stompy 3. Arkham is number 4 at 20-1. So from the first guy to the fourth guy, you've already seen a double in the odds, right? Then you have Dubs, Mongrel, Mr. Savage, Benji, Fishy, Bizzle, Clicks, Izza, Zate,
Mm-hmm.
Epic Whale.
Cease also on there.
Yeah.
Epic Whale, man.
Oh,
That's the name that stands out the most. All these other names I'm quite familiar with. Epic Whale, I got to get a little more.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's
a little
really
more
good,
caught
actually.
up with. But
Yeah, he's impressive. But yeah, these are definitely some of the people that you would expect to see on a list like this. The thing is that with something like this, a lot of people go, "Well, I don't think Tifu's the favorite," and quite
But I was
frankly,
gonna say it's just because of his name. I mean,
right. Quite frankly, I don't think he's the favorite either, necessarily. Straight up, I definitely think he's in that contention. Like he's up there. He should be on this list of the top guys that have a chance to win. As for being number one, debatable. But the thing is that for somebody like Vegas, who's just not the PUBG player, but like the head of the betting
Mr.
world.
Las Vegas.
Yeah, and here's the
looks
chart.
like the Monopoly guy.
Then basically, what the problem is that you have to not. It's a fine balancing act between giving the odds to the person who is actually the best and giving the odds to the person that is going to get the most money placed on him. Right?
Yeah.
So Tifu is almost certainly going to be bet on more than anybody else.
So I'm gonna bet, if I can, I'm gonna bet on Ziff to get the most kills because he's just gonna get a bunch fed to him in the beginning, right?
I like Bizzle. Honestly, if you had to, especially with those odds, 25-1.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. Mongrel's also a really nice pick as well.
Yeah,
I actually got high hopes for him.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's already in the U.S., that bodes well for him. That he's going to be getting acclimatized, like we were discussing earlier. Obviously, Zate, Canadian, gotta rep that. But overall, I think that it's pretty interesting that we're seeing this age, right? Because esports it's only been the last couple of years really where you could bet on esports. Like people like Riot did like fantasy things, but it was never for actual money. It was more for bragging rights, or if you got the full bracket right, they would give you some RP or a skin or something. But it was never like for actual cash.
Yeah.
Recently, you started to see it. I think in the last like year, 2 years, I think a law changed in the U.S. I'm not that familiar with American law, but something changed in the U.S. where they actually allowed this gambling to take place, like legitimate gambling. So it's now in esports. It makes it more like sports, but is it in a good way or a bad way?
I mean, oh man. It's such a weird gray area because sports and betting they're like, they've been together and they've been around for so long, but introducing this in a mainstream way to esports, which is heavily influential with kids and younger demographic, and that's why we have sponsors like freaking Geico sponsoring and stuff like that. Like they're trying to figure out ways to get to the younger demographic, so they sponsor esports, which is smart. But they already now have Budweiser, the official beer of esports. They're trying to be named, which is like nice because always got to stay hydrated and eat as much water as you can while you're playing. So, but the other thing is, now you have to worry about betting as something that's going to be promoted out there. I mean, I don't know if that's such a good idea for a young audience when they have access to their parents' credit cards and everything.
That's a great graphic.
I like the art. I don't know if that's something that's going to be good where people are already blowing all their parents' money, running up the money on the credit cards for V-Bucks. Now they're going to be betting on their favorite streamers. And if they're depends how often there's daily fantasy websites that can offer more than just these big tournaments. They could offer maybe these weekly events that are streamed or Friday Fortnites. Like you can bet on they can open it up to a lot of things once the doors slightly open. They could just open the floodgates. And man, it's that's a slippery slope. That's tough. I mean, maybe if there's a company that Mark Cuban is affiliated with. I believe he part owns. It's called Unicorn or Unicorn.
Yeah.
And he is it's cryptocurrency that that you can use to bet on esports with. So I could see if that gets utilized in some way, but obviously in the United States, online betting is still they're still kind of getting back in, like breaking back into that. It's widely available in other countries.
Yeah, Europe, for example, it's everywhere.
Especially for Counter-Strike, Dota, and League. You could bet on all of those tournaments or all those events. So, and even for other games now. So now Fortnite being involved in that, I mean, man, that's tough.
I see Fortnite going the Riot Games, Epic following Riot Games lead in terms of, there's nothing you can do to prevent other companies from doing it completely independently. But what they probably will not allow is any sort of advertising within the Fortnite ecosystem. Right. So no team sponsors, no ads on jerseys. I mean, I'm sure you heard that, Pornhub tried to sponsor a League of Legends team.
I was going to bring that up, actually. And it's funny that you did. I was going to bring that up a couple minutes ago, but I didn't as an example. Like, if you can bring in a beer, if you could bring in a beer sponsor, and now we're talking about betting, if that depends, though, like you said, probably won't be able to be like a mainstay sponsor. Right, but like that, where's the line exactly? I mean, I think a beer sponsor makes sense in like a 19+ VIP area, right? Yeah. Like there you can have some cool beer related things, because you're already in a 19+ area at an event, like fine, that's allowable. But like going past that is, but then again, I mean, Budweiser advertises during a basketball and a hockey game, and it's on TV. And are we really going to try and pretend that no kid watches sports? I mean, I think that would be the dumbest, that's the dumbest pretense of all time. Obviously, kids do watch these sports games with their parents, and they see those commercials. Yep. So it's just, we want esports following that model. I think it's going to get there. I think it's inevitable that it's going to get there, whether Epic wants it to or not. Like you said, there are so many third parties that they can control it in some way. I mean, hey, custom tournaments aren't available yet. Custom matchmaking is not available yet. So what do people do? They have the pub stomping format that they use for tournaments, until something gets figured out. We can't queue up in custom matchmaking. What do? We have these Discord scrims that we all try to compile into. There's ways that people always will, they find ways around, as long as the game is as readily available as it is. As long as, especially if it's a free to play game, that's even crazier. It's a free to play game. Now you have to think with the betting, if betting becomes a thing for Fortnite. By the way, if we do have that graphic back up, we can for the betting odds, it'd be something to note that the right column, I think the left column was just total for winning the whole thing. Yeah. Right column was top 3. By the way, just to differentiate. I wasn't sure if we specified that earlier. Yeah,
we didn't. But okay. we do have. I'm glad that you mentioned.
I still thought it was interesting because those bets, I believe, come directly from Las Vegas, and they are very influential on just the media in general and what, just the scope of the actual landscape. So you could tell just from the names, they did the research.
Stompy is very interesting because he has 16-1 odds to win, but only 13-2. Why did they do that? 6.5 to 1? I guess they didn't want to do a 0.5. I mean, anyway, that's weird.
But I mean, you got to think with the ecosystem now that this game is going to be holding, if they bring betting now into this thing in other ways, you have that now mixed in with V-Bucks being like, that was a huge problem at first with accounts being sold until Epic started bringing down the ban hammer. I mean, they were probably this close. I'm guarantee you there was people in the middle of launching, websites to try and buy and sell skins or accounts.
There were
until they shut that down
for example, Epic. Phantom Lord. I'm sure. Do you know who that is?
That sounds
He's a huge League of Legends streamer, and he did CSGO as well, and he got into a lot of trouble because basically he owned sites, and he didn't disclaim that he owned these sites, and he would go and he would pretend to bet and re-roll for these CSGO skins, and meanwhile he was getting code so that he knew exactly when to bet big because he was talking to the developer. Anyway.
Yeah, I remember that. Was he part of that CS:GO skin? Not to get into the whole thing, but I think it was like with T Martin. I think it was the other guy.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, from Counter Strike. But yeah,
It was bad.
it was a whole thing, and I'm just it's
Well, it's gone up incredibly, right? Like we have a graphic actually as well that shows this how much more popular esports betting is just becoming. Like it's insane.
yeah. Oh, I've been looking into it for some time now. I fell out of it once I realized you can only bet with Dota and League and Counter Strike. But now, I mean, since I started essentially diving into it 2 years ago, now with the way cryptocurrency has been coming up. And just different legalities and you know the motion that a lot of companies are having that are now launching, they have a lot of investors now that are tied up in the like betting for esports is going to be a lot more prevalent. And
yeah,
something we really have to take in mind. I mean, this is it's something that you can't stop, but it's gonna I'm waiting for the headlines. They're gonna happen where kid bets 20 grand away on parents' credit card on Fortnite, you know, whatever, or something like that. But yeah, look at this graphic. This is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it's crazy. So you have 127% growth year over year in esports betting. You know, before the games, you have 111%, and live during the games, you have 403% growth. So that is just insanity. And, you know, with how popular betting is in sports, it's not surprising. It's just the logical next step. It's kind of weird to see it. It's just strange to see esports like following in the steps of traditional sports so closely.